Welcome to the deep dive, and boy, do we have a deep one for you today.
Bob Camblin.
Bob Camblin. A name you might recognize. But trust me, there's a lot more to him than meets the eye. We're going to dive deep, really deep, into his art, his life, his whole thing.
And we've got a treasure trove of material to work with
Oh
here.
yeah, we went all out on this one.
Quotes, reviews, biographies, even a YouTube video breaking down one of his most famous pieces, Descent from the Cross.
So if you want the inside scoop on Bob Camblin, this is it. Buckle up.
You know, what I find really fascinating is that Camblin's got this reputation. He's widely recognized, no doubt about it. But at the same time, there's this real sense of mystery around him.
Yeah, the biography really hammered that home, didn't it?
And-
Widely recognized, yet enigmatic. And they made a good point about his work being so scarce. That definitely adds to the mystique, and you can't just stumble across it in any old museum.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, what's so special about this guy? Why is everyone clamoring for a piece of the Camblin pie?
And then there's the fact that he was kind of a rebel in the art world.
Oh yeah, a total iconoclast. The biography didn't shy away from that. Apparently his style ruffled some feathers, but he also had this huge amount of respect from other artists.
Like they recognized he was onto something, even if they couldn't quite put their finger on it.
And then, bam, 1976 rolls around,
And he drops everything.
leaves the comfort of academia and decides to become this nomadic artist.
Traveling the globe, soaking up all these different cultures. Italy, France, Ireland, Mexico, even the South Pacific. You got to wonder how all those experiences seeped into his art.
Absolutely, and you can really see those threads in some of his recurring symbols, like the frog. I mean, that's an image that pops up across so many different cultures, each with their own take on its meaning.
And for Camlin, it seemed to represent wisdom, kind of a universal symbol, tying everything together.
Which makes his nomadic phase all the more interesting. It's like he was actively seeking out these universal truths, these common threads that run through human experience no matter where you go.
But before he went globetrotting, the bio mentioned something about these drawings and writings he did from the 50s to the 70s. And get this, never intended for public viewing.
Oh, wow, that's like getting a peek into his private thoughts, Before he was Bob Camblin, the art world enigma, he was just Bob, working things out on paper.
Talk about a rare glimpse into an artist's soul. Now, one thing that kept popping up when we were going through all this material was this idea of paradox. Like, reviewers would use these phrases to describe his work: a trap that does not trap, a structure that stands but does not move.
It's like he was deliberately playing with those contradictions, forcing you to think outside the box, to question your assumptions about what art should be, what meaning should be.
And speaking of questioning, there's this undeniable connection to Zen philosophy in a lot of his work. I mean, the title of that book, Zen and the Art of Enlightenment, kind of gives it away, right?
Right. And the book really dives into this idea of finding enlightenment in everyday life, finding beauty in the unexpected, the absurd, even the stuff that's falling apart. It's like Camblin's art is this gentle nudge, encouraging us to shake off those rigid ways of seeing the world and just open our minds to the possibilities.
To really see what's right there in front of us.
Exactly. And to me, that ties in beautifully with another big theme in Camblin's work: impermanence and acceptance. That acceptance of change, of the natural flow of things, as this freeing force.
It's like he's saying, hey, let go of trying to control everything and just embrace the ride.
And you can't talk about Camblin without talking about Descent from the Cross. That piece is just, it's loaded with symbolism. The YouTube video we watched and the book excerpts, they both talked about those intertwined figures representing the shared nature of suffering.
And how going through that suffering together can actually be a path to something greater, to transcendence.
Yeah, it's almost like he's taking that classic image from Western art history and weaving in these Eastern philosophical ideas, turning it into this powerful statement about human connection and resilience in the face of hardship.
And even bringing in the I Ching, that ancient Chinese text with hexagram 47, oppression.
Yeah.
It's all about finding that inner strength, that potential for liberation, even when things feel really tough. Another thing that really struck me was how Camblin's whole approach to creating art seemed to be rooted in intuition, that direct, visceral experience, kind of like what you see in Zen practices.
Yeah, it's about trusting your gut, your instincts,
Yeah.
not getting bogged down in overthinking or trying to analyze everything to death.
Which is funny because he also talked about the balance between intuition and logic. Like he recognized the value of both, but maybe saw intuition as the spark, the initial driving force behind creativity.
And I think that quote we found really gets to the heart of it. We all are creative, but we lose our magic in understanding everything instead of knowing. Like, sometimes knowing too much, trying to define everything, can actually stifle that creative impulse.
It's about letting go of that need to control and just letting the magic happen.
Right, and being open to it. He kept saying we should open rather than close circuits of perception, which suggests this constant state of curiosity, of being receptive to whatever the world throws at you.
And he even talked about this thing called the mystic switch.
Oh, that's a good one. It's like, that feeling you get, that visceral knot in your gut that tells you something's true, something's real.
It's like a gut check, but for truth.
Exactly.
Right.
And he's saying we should pay attention to that feeling, trust it, even if we can't quite explain it logically. It's our own internal compass.
Okay, now for some really unconventional advice.
Hmm.
Resist learning.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's straight from Camblin himself. Resist learning, with those air quotes and
Huh.
everything. But he goes on to say, learn to fail, relax, feel, and really think. It's like he's flipping the script on how we usually approach education, right?
Yeah, it's not about stuffing your head with facts and figures. It's about embracing the process, the experimentation, even the mess-ups along the way.
And allowing yourself to feel, to be present in the moment, to really engage with your thoughts. Now, let's talk about Camblin's art itself, how his style evolved over time.
Okay, so we know from the biography that he started out at the Kansas City Art Institute. Solid foundation, right? But then he gets this Fulbright scholarship and heads off to Italy.
And that's where things get interesting. He's surrounded by these Renaissance masters, these iconic works of art, but he's also exposed to some pretty intense imagery, like in the Uffizi and those Capuchin catacombs.
Yeah, you've got the idealized beauty of the Renaissance on one hand, and then these stark reminders of mortality on the other. It's like this intense visual and emotional experience.
And the bio says his early works were very much about social protest, with these bold outlines and flat colors.
Very direct, very in your face. He wasn't afraid to make a statement.
But then he starts to shift gears. It says he combined social realism with non-objectivity. Now, I'm no art expert, but what does that even mean?
Basically, he started incorporating abstract elements into his work, shapes, colors, textures, things that didn't necessarily represent something concrete in the real world.
It's like he was trying to capture those internal states, those deeper meanings that couldn't be expressed through just depicting the external world.
And then in the 80s, we get the Muchas Volantes style, these intricate patterns of dots and dashes that almost play tricks on your eyes.
Yeah, you really have to engage with him to see the full picture. It's almost like he's drawing you into the artwork, making you an active participant in the experience.
And throughout all these different styles, there are these recurring motifs that pop up again and again. The figure four traps, those tattooed arms, frogs, scarecrows, all those things. It's like he had this personal visual vocabulary that he kept coming back to.
And each symbol carried its own weight, its own layered meaning. Like the figure four trap, representing those unseen forces that can trap us, the unseen mechanisms that control our lives.
And the tattooed arm, it's like a story etched onto the skin, this personal history that's both visible and hidden at the same time.
The frog, of course, representing wisdom. The scarecrows may be a symbol of renewal, of transformation. It's fascinating how he used these images to create a kind of visual shorthand for these complex ideas.
And then there's Saint Bambola, a recurring figure almost haunting him, representing those past artistic phases he went through. Like he's constantly revisiting his own creative journey, grappling with his own artistic ghosts.
The bio also talks about how much he valued collaboration, especially with his B&E Productions crew, Earl Staley and Joe Tate. It seems like he really thrived on that creative back and forth.
Absolutely. And Earl Staley's account of learning from Camblin is so insightful. It shows how much Camblin valued mentorship, the sharing of knowledge and ideas.
And then there's the whole signing his works as anonymous thing, or sometimes even Mr. Peanut. It's like he was deliberately trying to downplay the individual ego, the cult of the artist.
It's almost like he was saying the art is what matters, not the name attached to it.
Or maybe he was just having a little fun with the art world.
Probably a bit of both. And then there's the text he integrated into his drawings. Sometimes it feels like a clue, sometimes a riddle, sometimes just a random thought.
It's like he's challenging the idea that words can fully explain or capture the essence of art. Like in that quote, painters and sculptors often reject words as dangerous to the perception of their art.
Yeah, he's saying words can get in the way, they can box us in. Sometimes it's better to just let the art speak for itself.
And in the end, it seems like his goal was to evoke these subjective states in the viewer, to make you feel something, to think about the mysteries of life, those big questions about transformation and the cycles of existence.
And that's where his ambition to remake Goya in 20th century terms comes in. It's like he wanted to tap into those same primal fears and desires, those dark and light aspects of humanity, but in a way that would resonate with a modern audience.
Speaking of Goya, let's circle back to Descent from the Cross for a minute. That piece really ties together a lot of what we've been talking about, the symbolism, the philosophical influences, the way he takes a classic theme and makes it his own.
It's really a masterclass in blending art historical traditions with your own personal vision.
And his quotes, man, some of those are just pure gold, like, look into the atom, you get what you need. Look into magic, and you get what you need. Philosophy and art are in both.
It shows how he was constantly searching for those underlying truths, those connecting threads that run through science, philosophy, art, everything.
And then there's the short but powerful one. Step off the train of thought. It's like a mantra for breaking free from those mental ruts, those limiting beliefs that hold us back.
Just stop, take a breath, and consider a different perspective.
And the one that kind of throws shade at the whole love equals art thing, art is and it isn't, and now everyone knows, love art. Like, he's poking fun at the tendency to oversimplify, to reduce complex things to these neat little equations.
Yeah, he's reminding us that art, and love for that matter, are messy and complicated and full of contradictions.
And then there's this gem. Don't let the demon of being right get in. Flow and think of what you're doing, not what you plan to do. Step off the train of thought. It's like a step-by-step guide to unlocking your creative potential.
Let go of the ego, be present, and trust the process.
And remember, we all are creative, but we lose our magic in understanding everything instead of knowing.
That one's all about embracing the mystery, the not knowing.
And what about his quote on mistakes? There are no mistakes, you are doing the best you can, and mistakes are nature's way of telling you to trust your instincts, or the next mistake could be really bad.
A good reminder that mistakes are just part of the learning process. Embrace them, learn from them, and keep moving forward.
And that playful line about artists leaving Easter eggs for historians to find.
It's like he's acknowledging the layers of meaning embedded in his work, those hidden details that might not be immediately apparent but will reveal themselves over time.
And finally, the one about the aimless mind focusing itself in zazen.
A perfect summation of the Zen influence on his philosophy. It's all about finding clarity and insight through stillness and meditation.
Now, Camblin clearly has some strong opinions about the art world itself. The biography talked about his complicated relationship with galleries and museums.
Yeah, it seems like he felt they were often more concerned with money and prestige than with actually supporting artists and fostering genuine creative expression.
And he really bristled at the idea of painting for money. He even refused payment sometimes.
Which is pretty remarkable considering being an artist is, a job. But it shows how much he valued the integrity of his art, how he refused to let it be compromised by commercial interests.
And his vision for how art should be exhibited was really interesting. He wanted to showcase the whole environment, the artist's entire world, without the competition or comparison that you often see in galleries.
It's like he wanted to create this immersive experience for the viewer to really understand the artist's process and the interconnectedness of their work.
And he believed in the power of faith and good work. Not exactly what you'd expect to hear in the often cynical art world, but it speaks to his idealism, his belief in the potential for art to be a positive force.
And that metaphor he used, turning stumbling blocks into stepping stones, represented by those paintings of jars of water.
It's such a powerful image of resilience, of finding a way forward even when faced with challenges.
And the water itself symbolizing clarity, that sense of peace and understanding that can emerge from difficult times.
The biography also gave us some great personal anecdotes about Camblin, like his love of reading. Apparently, he was a total bookworm, which isn't surprising considering all the intellectual depth we see in his work.
Yeah, it's like he was constantly feeding his mind, exploring new ideas and perspectives.
And his friendship with Forrest Harrisberger seemed to be a really important one for him.
It's those personal connections, those relationships that help shape who we are, both as artists and as human beings.
And Earl Staley's description of Camblin's studio as a wizard's den, that just paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it?
It's like you can almost smell the paint and see all those strange and wonderful objects he collected.
And the Mr. Peanut thing, that just adds to the whole mystique, doesn't it? This playful, irreverent side to this otherwise serious and enigmatic artist.
And then there's his eventual move to Oregon and Louisiana, his withdrawal from the Houston art scene. It's like he was deliberately stepping away from the spotlight, seeking solitude and space to continue his creative explorations on his own terms.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Bob Camblin, what are the key takeaways for you? What really stands out from all this material?
For me, it's the contradictions. This guy who is both widely celebrated and fiercely independent, who embraced paradox and questioning, who drew inspiration from both Eastern and Western traditions.
He was a true original, a one-of-a-kind artist who challenged us to think differently about art, about creativity, about life itself.
And that's the beauty of Camblin's work. It doesn't offer easy answers. It invites you to engage, to question, to find your own meaning.
And that brings us to our final thought for you, our listener. What if you tried embracing a little bit of that Camblin spirit in your own life?
What trains of thought might you consider stepping off from? What assumptions could you challenge?
Could the act of not knowing, of embracing uncertainty, actually lead you to a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you?
Something to ponder, isn't it?
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.